what? It's better to be happily unmarried than unhappily married. The first prize is happily married. But if you can't have that, rather be happily unmarried than unhappily married.
Ma'am, how do you not want to clarify your name? Like when I Googled you, I'm seeing all these articles and people are writing all these things. And I'm wondering to myself, I wonder how is she not like clear? How do you stay content in, I believe what you want to believe. I'm sticking to this.
Because basically people don't like high standards and they don't like consistency and they don't like discipline. And I think it's very sad that so many schools in our country are collapsing because of lack of discipline. So I don't apologize for it, but I also know that many people don't like it. That's their choice. But you know what? The proof of the pudding is in the eating. I don't have to defend myself. You just have to look at the product. And there's one looking at me right now.
Please tell us the story about how Cornerstone College came about.
I was never at ease with the fact that I was teaching children who were getting a superb education, while most children were getting substandard, if not no education. And it just didn't sit right with my conscience, especially my Christian conscience. And what she says is to find God's will, it's not so much seeking it as wanting it.
Hi, guys. I know I'm still on my sabbatical. I'm still on my hiatus. I'm taking a break, but I will be back soon. But I thought I might as well release this episode. I've actually been meaning to release it. I think right now it's perfect timing, and I'm so grateful for having shot this episode. For those of you who don't know the lady I'll be interviewing, you're about to see right now, she is my high school principal. And if she is going to watch this, I just want to say thank you to her one more time for giving me, the privilege to interview her time. And, looking back right now, I'm really grateful I went to Cornerstone College. I use those principles we were taught in Cornerstone College. I mean, timekeeping, being disciplined, consistency, like the order you find in Cornerstone College. It's really something to be grateful for, to be exposed to that environment. I look back and I'm really grateful I went to Cornerstone College. I hope you guys enjoy the episode, and I'll see you guys very soon. I love y'all. Peace. A warm greeting to everyone watching, listening, hearing. Welcome again to another episode of Wisdom Podcast. Please make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. Today I have a very, very special guest, and how I actually wanted to introduce her is to start by thanking her. So today I've got my principal from Cornerstone College, and what I actually want to thank her for is the devotions we used to have during Cornerstone. Like, Cornerstone is a Christian school, and so the many moments we had to hear the gospel. And today I'm a minister of the gospel. It's because of Cornerstone College. Before the school used to start, you used to be in the staff room. The teachers would be in the staff room and would get moments to share the word. And today I've got my own podcast. I preach at church, and I wanted to thank her because it all started in those moments. Ladies and gentlemen, do me a favor and welcome Mrs. Hurlin. Ma'am, how are you?
Hi, Ulungisile. It's wonderful to hear that Cornerstone College made such a difference to your life, including spiritually. And thank you so much for having me on your program. I'm so proud of you, and I can't tell you the joy that it gives me to see that you've developed in every way and that you're an entrepreneur as well. Who would have thought a few years ago that there would be such a thing as a professional podcaster? It didn't even exist when you first came to school, but now it can be used to spread the gospel. So thank you for that lovely introduction, and thank you for the privilege of chatting to you today.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your time, ma'am. I didn't thank you for your time prior to starting. Thank you for your time. I know you're a very, very busy person. So to make time for me, I truly appreciate it. So one of the things I did mention when I was writing to you is that I'm going to ask you some fun questions just to break the ice.
Yeah.
So the first question I want to ask is, it comes as a result. So I started Googling your name and I checked you on YouTube and I couldn't find much. But I did find a video where you were preaching on the Doxa Deo platform and you were talking about you were listening to a lot of songs during the COVID times. And so what I thought to myself, what if I asked her this, which is the first question? If you were Silas, you know, in the book of Acts chapter 16, there's Paul and Silas. So if you were Silas and you were locked up in jail and you were singing with Paul, what song would you be singing?
I think maybe it's because it's the last song that I've heard today. We've just come from our assembly. You've referred to our assemblies. And the theme song for this year is "The Joy of the Lord is My Strength." So I would certainly say under prison conditions that my strength would come from singing joyfully to the Lord and trusting him to get me through. Look, there are lots of versions, lots of songs that are "The Joy of the Lord is My Strength." So you can choose any one of them, or he can sing all of them if he wants to.
And you know what's actually interesting is that scripture says they were praying and praising, and normally praising takes place in a joyous atmosphere. So that's really nice to hear from you. So the second question is, besides Jesus, who do you think you'd be best friends with in the Bible and why?
Okay, can I be a typical principal and change your question?
Okay.
I think you know that I'm actually, first and foremost, a language teacher, an English language teacher. And so I have to say to you that I don't really think that much of meeting people from the Bible in heaven apart from Jesus. But one person that I want to book for at least 10 years is C.S. Lewis, who is my all-time favorite author. Such a wonderful Christian, such a wonderful man in terms of his intellect and the way he expresses himself and explains the gospel. And his books have had an enormous impact on my life. And so the first person I'd like to book in heaven for a good long chat is C.S. Lewis.
C.S. Lewis, just out of curiosity, I think I'll go find it myself. What's your favorite book by C.S. Lewis? Because I know him as well. He's really good. What's your favorite book by C.S. Lewis?
Well, of course, he wrote the Chronicles of Narnia, the children's stories, but which are brilliant. But that's more allegorical. I'm thinking more of his apologetics, things like Surprised by Joy is a very good one. And you've put me on the spot. I actually do know his titles, but that's the only one that occurs to me at the moment. I should have prepared.
Wait, before I move on, ma'am, you're into apologetics.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Interesting.
I'm not an expert, but I find it very interesting. And I just, for example, I just love the logic that is required. And I love defending the gospel and defending the word, because once you look into it, it's actually very easy to defend it. It's just that we maybe don't know how to defend it. And so, yes, that's something that I enjoy is understanding my faith and being able to argue for my faith in a very rational way.
So So I don't know. I didn't tell you this, but I studied my undergrad was politics, philosophy, and economics. And then in my honors degree, I did philosophy. And that was solely because of apologetics. I'm so shocked. Oh,
Mm,
okay. Do
mm.
you know Dr. William Lane Craig, just out of curiosity?
I don't.
Oh,
Sorry. But next time you speak to me, I will.
okay. 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 So let's move on to the third question. Amongst Jesus's disciples, who do you think would make a great cornerstone staff member and why?
Yo, that's a biggie. You're giving me hard ones. If this is the icebreaker, I'm scared for the real questions afterwards. You know what? I think John. I love the picture of John lying with his head on Jesus's chest, and he just was so in love with Jesus, and that's what I look for. I look for teachers who are in love with Jesus, in love with children, and in love with their subject. And I reckon that anybody who's got those three right would be a great match. Anything that's missing, we can train up. But I really look for the heart. And I believe that John's heart was just so pure and so devoted and so loving.
So, I can see myself like I am a product of Cornerstone because literally all those three, I have them. Oh, this is so interesting.
Yay!
So, for the listeners who don't know you, please tell us who you are.
Oh my goodness. You know, I'm 64 years old now, so that's a very long question to ask. But I would like to say, first and foremost, I'm a child of God and very proud of it and very grateful for it. Secondly, I would say I am the absolute devoted wife of Dr. Rob Hurlin. Apart from my salvation, he's the best gift that God has ever given me. And then I would say I'm the delighted mother of Daniel and Wendy, and the completely sold out grandmother of Gabriella, Rachel, and little Nathan. So those are the people in my life that in a way make me who I am. I'm a wife, a mother, and a grandmother. And then definitely I am called to education, Christian educational leadership. And so those I would say most of my life, if I looked back, were pointing to those things. I'm a devoted church member of Doxa Deo, Parkview. I really love our church and love serving there as well. So yes, those are perhaps for me the highlights or the identifying features of who I am.
Let me just write a follow-up question just for the next time because I don't want to put you on the spot now. But for the next time, I'm just gonna ask, how did you figure out your purpose? But it's fine. I'm not gonna ask you now because you did mention that you were called into the Christian leadership space, right? Is that what you
Right.
said?
Yeah. Yeah. But I can answer it.
Oh, okay.
Because, look, there's a long answer, but there's also a short answer that I heard very recently from Joyce Meyer. I listen to her podcast quite often. And what she says is to find God's will, it's not so much seeking it as wanting it. Because seeking means that there's a lot of work on your behalf, and you can make mistakes, that's all fine, but I think all God wants to know is our hearts, and if we want his will, then he is more than willing and able to communicate his will to us. So I think we make finding his will so complicated and difficult, but actually it's very easy. Again, it's the heart. Lord, I want to do what I was designed for, and please help me to find what that is.
That is a beautiful, beautiful answer. Ma'am, please also just please tell us the story about how no, before we get to the cornerstone, this one is really important and I really want to know this one. Please tell us about the story behind you accepting Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior.
Yeah, I think that's a lovely question, because I'm putting two and two together right now that in fact I became a Christian through the influence of the school that I was at. So I came to South Africa when I was about 14 from what was still Rhodesia, it's now Zimbabwe, and really struggled to integrate into South African life, but was put into a school called Edenvale High in Edenvale. And 14 years old for certainly a young woman is not an easy time. And a few of my school friends invited me to an SCA prayer meeting, and I perhaps unwisely said yes until I realized that we were in the middle of the rugby field so that everybody could see us. And up until that time I'd had some Christian input but nothing major, and just being with these girls, seeing them do Christianity, for want of a better word, eventually they turned around to me and said, "Don't you think it's time for you to become a Christian?" And I said yes, and I prayed the prayer, and I was a Christian, and I've never looked back. So that's literally now 50 years ago. And it just goes to prove how schools can be such a wonderful context for leading people to Christ. And I'm a product of that process. And so I do understand all these years later why I still firmly believe that schools can help children to find their salvation.
Just out of curiosity, prior to you going to the meeting, you didn't really have much context or understanding of what Christianity is. So I'm assuming you didn't grow up in a Christian household. So yes, you were one of the first people to be saved in your family.
Yes, I was the first. And then to cut a much longer story short, I led my mom to the Lord, and my mom, who's a raving evangelist, led my dad and my two siblings to the Lord as well. And then everybody in the area, she's on fire for the Lord, even at the age of 84.
Ma'am, I'm asking, this is my request, because you're cutting long story short from all these questions. I'm just asking, can you take out a book or have your own podcast as well, and say all these stories? Because I'd like to hear all of them. So I think it would be nice to have a book from you, or maybe you starting your own podcast or your own channel. I think that would be nice.
Thank you. I'll consider that. I'm not sure when I could fit it in though, but that's a lovely endorsement. Thank you for that.
Okay, now let's move on to the third question. Please tell us the story about how Cornerstone College came about, including how the name Cornerstone College came about as well.
Again, this is something literally that could be a book, should be a book in and of itself. But in essence, I was basically a young white teacher in apartheid South Africa, teaching English and geography and loving it. But I was extremely ill at ease with the fact that in apartheid South Africa, having, by the way, studied at Wits University, which really helped to form my rebellion against apartheid South Africa, especially apartheid education, I was never at ease with the fact that I was teaching children who were getting a superb education, while most children were getting substandard, if not no education. And it just didn't sit right with my conscience, especially my Christian conscience. So got married, had children, and then when I went back to work, I stopped working to raise my little children. I decided to change direction, and I found a job at an independent inner city college, and saw for the first time, apart from missionary work, taught Black children, and and really saw that there was a huge demand, that in fact Black parents could find money to pay for something that was better than the education that their children would have otherwise. But I saw with the owner, and that's why I won't say the name, of course, that the motive was only financial. And so, whereas I was delighted in the classroom and fulfilled like never before, because I thought I was making a difference where it really mattered. And by the way, the kids were amazing. I mean, they wouldn't leave the classroom when the break bell rang. They were just so hungry for what basically white kids took for granted. So when I saw this, I said to my husband after being there just a few months, I love this idea, but I hate the motive. And I would love to do this with a Christian motive and with a non-profit motive, that we only charge fees such as would cover our costs at break even. And my wonderful husband said, you go for it. So the October of 1991, which feels like a history lesson, but it feels only like yesterday to me. We actually looked at potential properties in Silverton. I knew I wanted to be very close to Mamelodi and close to the railway line, because that's the way that most of the children were transported in those days. And basically, we managed to secure premises at the Tannery Centre, kicked off in a very simple way, and then moved to these premises. You know which premises I mean, which are the old Beste Belegging premises on Moraletta Street. And we've just gone from glorious strength by God's grace to glorious strength, grown in numbers. As you mentioned, started a primary school, started a hostel, just in every way we've developed every year. More because my husband is a go-getter than me. He always wants to go to the next level. But now we have about 1,300 children from grade R to matric, classrooms, halls, science labs, computer labs, you name it, bought much more land and developed. We just never stopped developing. So, and I think my biggest joy in all of this was saying that my original theory that I wanted to prove, my hypothesis, was that if Black children were given the same conditions of education that white children were, that they would be able to deliver equally or even better. And I am delighted to say that the proof has been in the pudding. We've had 26 years of mostly Black matriculants getting 100% and very high bachelor's degree passes, usually in the late 80s, early 90s, in other words, university entrance. And I think all I can say is point proven, and nobody can argue anymore that the only inequity was in terms of quality education. And once that was redressed, then our Black kids have thrived. So praise be to God. And many people have followed that model subsequently, and I'm delighted because you don't want to be the sole guardian of such liberating truth. Okay, but I could say a lot more, but that's all I'm going to say now.
Ma'am, I'm about to cry. Like I'm
me
being
too.
honest. I'm about to cry, and the reason I want to cry is I want to say thank you for not giving up on us, and I want to say thank you for caring about Black people. I just want to say thank you, and I know most probably it was tough. And if you'd like, you could also go into the stories a little bit. I'm sure it was really tough when you started the whole thing, because you were coming out of a system which was just anti-Black people, and you were pro-Black people, and you still stuck through it, and the Lord has been with you. So thank you so much for committing to that. Thank you, thank you. I'm not sure if a lot of people know about the story, and I'm not sure if it's online, but I'm so glad we have it here. So, ma'am, thank you. I wish I could take up my heart and you could see how grateful I am. And I mean, when I left Cornerstone, I was complaining, I was just like, Mrs. Helen, why all of this
Yeah,
set
yeah.
of strict rules? But now I'm just like, I see the origin of Cornerstone, and it changes everything for me. Oh,
Well, I wish you could see my heart as well, that I receive that thanks and encouragement wholeheartedly. And you are right. And of course, one thing that students think is they think they know everything about the school that they're at. But actually, I want to share a secret with you. Students know very little about what goes on in a school. There is so much in the background that is not shared with them. And that's appropriate because they're young people, they're minors, they don't need to be burdened with things. But you are absolutely right. It has been so hard so often that only the grace of God and the encouragement of my husband and those closest to me have kept me going. I have to say, at least once a year, I hand in my resignation to my husband.
why
At
am I
least
finding that
once a
hard to
year.
believe?
And he never accepts it, and he just loves me through it and talks me through it and understands the hurt. A few times we've been in the newspaper with hideous lies told about us. We had to take in the very first year a second bond on our brand new house because nobody would lend us money. We've had huge political pressures from the extreme left and the extreme right over the years. And people who transfer, and I understand this, but transfer their frustration. So because I'm white, the understandable hatred about whites is transferred onto somebody who I would like to suggest doesn't deserve it. So that has been difficult to bear at times as well. But I really have to say to you, mostly the kids are fabulous. The parents are fabulous. I adore our staff. They really are my family. And there's so much more joy than there is pain. But I would be dishonest if I tried to paint a rosy picture of the fact that it's only joy. Anybody listening to this must know that in call and your purpose, you will also go through very hard times that can either destroy you or grow you. And with the help of God and other people, it's grown me rather than destroyed me.
I'm not sure if he's still there, but for those of you who don't know, so prior to us starting the whole show, Dr. Helen was there. So I'm not sure if he's still there.
He's still here.
I also
Yes.
want to thank him as well. And at this point, I'm just like, I think the next time, I think we must get him as well to come and share his
Amen.
part, because I know this from Cornerstone. We barely saw Dr. Helen.
Right.
We barely saw Dr. Helen. But I'm hearing now that he played a huge role in it. Oh, this is so interesting.
You know what? I would say to you, the people who listen to your podcast, that you look, he's a shy man and he's a humble man. And as you've said, he's happier in the background, but he is such a man of God. And his story is a story that is really worth hearing as well. I have nothing but respect and reverence for him. And he's the best husband on the planet as well. You know, he's never happier than when I'm getting the limelight. Well, not many men are like that.
Yes, yeah, no, that is true. That is so true. And just out of curiosity, how many years have you been married?
This year, it's our 42nd wedding anniversary. 42 years, yes. So almost exactly 2/3 of my life I've been married.
I know we're going off a little bit of a off tangent, but this is something I want to know as well, because the divorce rate is going high, as said by the news. So I want to know what's the secret sauce. I'm the type of individual who doesn't like coming up with a new thing. I want to use things that have been working. So for that number of years that you've been together, I just want to know what's the one thing you would advise to people who are planning on getting married in the future?
I would say look for the character. Obviously, as a woman, I would say look for the character of the man, and a man to look for the character of the woman. If you look on the outside and you're looking for the most popular or the most good looking, etc., then you might find yourself being tripped up sooner or later. But if you've established that what's on the inside is pure gold, then you're not taking much of a risk. And I needed to know that above all else that he loved and honored the Lord. So I looked for things like, and I'm being really honest now, was he a virgin? I'm going to tell you that straight. In other words, was he able to conduct himself sexually well before marriage? Because that says a lot about sexual conduct after marriage. And he is a one-woman man and has always been.
Hallelujah.
Look at things like, what does he do with his money? The one thing I noticed from him from the word go, that the first tenth of his income went straight to God. What does he do with his time? Over weekends, he went out on missionary journeys to help those who were poor. I've just shared with our school this morning, behavior is a language.
Ooh.
Isn't that powerful?
Ooh.
And I listened to the language of his behavior rather than the language of his lips or the lips of any other number of guys that maybe would have been contenders. And so I listened to his behavior language, not necessarily what he said. And take your time. You don't have to marry fast. But do it God's way. And the other thing I would say to young people out there is, you know what? It's better to be happily unmarried than unhappily married. You see what I'm saying? The first prize is happily married. But if you can't have that, rather be happily unmarried than unhappily married.
Oh, this is good. Oh, this is really good. Can I just also backtrack a little bit? You said language is a behavior.
Behavior is a language.
Oh, behavior is a language. Am I not reminded of Jesus when he says, you will know them by their fruits?
Absolutely. Well said. I'd never made that connection, but you're right. Yeah. And they say, put your money where your mouth is, for example. And you can see quite easily after they've stopped putting on an act, what the language of their behavior is truly telling you.
So when Dr. H was coming to ask you out, you heard him by what he was doing. Oh, this is good, ma'am. Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay, because of time, I'm gonna move on. But this is really, and by the way, this is wisdom. Because one of the things I think I found a bit of a struggle in terms of my Christian journey was most of the things they were preaching to me were very superficial. So I didn't know what to do with this. But after today, I know virgin.
Yeah.
I must know their time and how they spend their money. Okay, this is
great.
All right. Question number 4. All right, let me go to question number 5 before I go to number 4. What were some of the obstacles you faced as a result of expanding the vision, and how did you overcome some of these obstacles? I mean, you have the second building now, you've got primary school, you've got all of these different, visions that were birthed. So what were some of the obstacles that you faced, and how did you overcome them?
I feel like asking Dr. H right now to help me with that one, but I would say one of the obstacles would have been finances. Although I'm not sure that I would call it an obstacle. What I love, let me just start here, is that there's a saying that has meant so much to me in my life, and that is, what is the definition of success? You might remember me sharing this with you when you were a student. Success is taking small steps consistently in the right direction. So if you want success quickly, that's going to be an obstacle for you. But if you do the right thing as much as you can now and do that consistently towards your goals, then you will be successful. And so then what I'm also trying to answer your question is to say that obstacles are not so big if you're only taking one step at a time. You know what I'm saying? Then you can organize your direction, go around them, be patient, try another way, wait for money to come in, wait for the necessary what should I say, legislation and compliance, all of that sort of thing. But I just think if you keep on plodding on in the same direction, then it doesn't feel as if there's so many obstacles. If you want things quickly and easily, you will find lots of obstacles. And if you want them cheaply, everything's expensive, everything's hard, everything's a struggle. But if you just take a bite-sized piece every day, then the obstacles are, you can deal with them.
Dr.
I think he wants to say something. Do you want to add to that, love? No, he's saying no, but he is nodding.
Okay. I just wanted to solidify what you were saying and to tell the viewers, Mrs. Helen is not a hypocrite. Because I remember when we started with the whole primary school, I'm definitely sure now it's much bigger. It's been a while since I've been there, but I can see on the Facebook pages. But I remember when we started with grade 6 and 7. And then it started expanding over time. And so I can see that you start by taking a little bit of, a few bites consistently. So that's really amazing. That's really
Good.
amazing.
Yeah. And then of course, if you do a little thing as a pilot test, then if it works, great, you can keep on going in that direction. But if it doesn't work, you haven't invested too much time or too many resources or too much money, So, just do a pilot test if you're not sure, and then it becomes clearer.
May I also just ask this question? I know I'm putting you on the spot now because we didn't prepare this, but let me just ask this. Can you please give us an example of one moment during the Cornerstone journey where God came through, where you clearly saw that this is God? There was no way this made sense rationally.
Wow. Yeah. In a way, there's so many that's why I'm struggling. Give me a minute, Dol. What would you suggest would be a good example? Okay. Dr. H is just reminding me that we really struggle to find the property that we're in at the moment. It had to be a very specific type of property because we didn't, as you know, build from scratch. We had to adjust existing buildings. And we really, really saw that the provision of this building, after a number of failures, a number of disappointments, and basically the owners of this building saying, we will not sell to people who are going to run a school for Black kids. We will not sell to them. So, it was like our only option. These bigots were saying no. And then just from left field, one guy on their staff basically used his influence and talked them into selling the place to us. And he was I'm sure he still is. He is a believer, but God put a believer in a dire situation where everything was against us just to speak truth to power, and it completely flipped, and then we were able to buy these premises, and we haven't looked back since. But it was the 11th hour. It was somebody completely out of our control. We didn't know that he was exerting this godly influence, but he did, and it just revolutionized the situation. Yeah.
Now I can't wait for the book. Now we really.
It's going to be a long book.
Yeah, no, we have to get this book. You. Plus, you an English teacher, so I'm even assuming even the writing will just be on another level. Okay. Yo. All right. So, moving on. I just want to know: is there a difference between the students now and the students maybe, let's say, 10, 20 years ago? I just that's just something, it's a passing thought. That is there a difference between the students now and those back then?
Definitely. I can say that without hesitation. The influence of social media has changed many of our students, and it's definitely made it harder to help them because so much of their world is now invisible to us. And I know this is a strange way to express it, but you will probably remember when you were at school that if we sang in assembly or whatever, the kids would break into about a 20-part harmony. It was just so beautiful. Now, 10, 15, 20 years later, every child it's less likely that they're going to church, sadly, where congregations are singing together, but they're all listening to their own choice of music via earbuds, and we've lost the capacity to sing together. And one of the many things that I've noted, you will remember, I love music, is that nowadays our children cannot harmonize. But 10, 15, 20 years ago, it was impossible for them not to harmonize. And I think what's happened over the last decade or so is that we have become very sadly rampantly individualistic. We have our own little world that can exist without anybody knowing about it. And I just think things like unity, singing together, worshiping together, community life has taken a hit because of that.
Ma'am, you broke my heart. Because I just remembered now there was a song we used to sing, and as I was preparing for the interview, I was thinking, "You're the Messiah, manana, redeemer." Do they still sing that song?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. We do still sing that. It's back by popular demand just about every year. I think that's a Stephen Curtis Chapman song, is it?
I know is it the Michael W. Smith
Michael
version?
W. Smith. You're right.
Yes,
Yes.
that's the version I grew up with.
You're right.
Oh, okay. No, that one. Please tell me they're not singing it bad.
No, they're singing it well. This morning we sang the goodness of God. I love you, Lord. You've taken me, remember, through the fire, and your love keeps following after me. And they love it. So they do sing wholeheartedly, but the harmony is not there the way it used to be. Now we have to have a backing band because, the voices don't carry it the way they used to. Yeah.
Now, while we're still at the singing, I just want to ask, how did the Cornerstone song come about?
I wrote the lyrics and gave them to a very close friend of mine, Sally Alberts, who is very gifted at the actual melody, but struggles to put words. So I brought my ability with words, she brought her ability with music. And we sang that again together this morning in assembly, and the kids still love it. It's simple, but it's who we are. Together we build in love. Together we do our best, step by step. And the kids still love singing it.
Please consider recording it as well. Maybe you can put a
That's a good
YouTube
idea.
video. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be nice. Oh, a YouTube video. I would listen to it over and over again. So, okay. What words of wisdom would you give to someone who wants to start a business or a school or anything like that?
Well, my first thing I would say is go for it. If you possibly can, because just on the umbrella scale, South Africa needs young entrepreneurs like never before. And it's very obvious that it's very hard as a young person to find employment. So if you can't do it that way, then create your own employment in the way that I appointed myself as the principal of my own school.
Yes,
Sometimes you have to be very bold. But yet, that being said, I think find an area that you're passionate about, find a need, and marry those two together. Don't be afraid to start small. You know, the word says, do not despise the day of small beginnings. Don't be afraid to work jolly hard. And don't get discouraged too early. You know, for years and years, I would say to Rob, nobody knows about Cornerstone. You know, we're working so hard. We're doing such a good job, and nobody seems to know about us. But if you just hang in there, eventually you do get known. And I would also say, treat the finances with complete integrity. I know, you know, you're asking for wisdom. As a Christian, we keep our personal finances completely separate from the school finances. We don't allow those to bleed into each other. Otherwise, one can be tempted to take shortcuts. And if you want the Lord to honor your business, then you must do things in integrity. Treat people well, treat his money well, work hard, and just shine for him in a dark world.
Ooh, that is beautiful. Shine for him in a dark world. Ooh, okay. You see why we need the book. This could be a quote. I'm gonna ask my team to make a quote and then write down the Mrs. Head, because that shine for him and one of the ways to do that is via business.
Absolutely. Business has opened, our businesses have opened up a platform for us to proclaim the gospel such as we never could have done in our individual rights. So the Lord has blessed so that he can bless. And that's the amazing, extravagant, lavish generosity of God. When you are in him, you don't have to worry about scarcity. It is always abundance, and he will pour abundance onto abundance onto abundance. And it's just so exciting to sit back and watch him do that.
Oh, man, that's good. Oh, man, that is so good. Oh, when you are in him, you never have to worry about scarcity. Oh,
Right.
I'm getting emotional thinking about that statement alone. Okay. Okay. So, man, because of time, I'm coming to the last question. But before I mention the question, I just want to say this. A lot of people don't know this about Cornerstone, but Cornerstone is actually doing well, even apart from the matric results. So I remember when I was I think I was in grade 10, they shared with us some of the results of the overall average of the pass rate. I think it was around 80, 90, around there in every grade. And I thought this was really good. So I just wanted to know what the secret sauce behind such excellence. I know normally you show the 26 years in a row, but there's also excellency even in the other grades. So what's the secret sauce?
That is so easy to answer. It is our brilliant teachers. They are the geese that continue to lay the golden eggs. We've handpicked them. We trust them. We love them. We honor them, and they deliver the most incredible excellence in the classrooms, regardless of the age and the stage of the children. So they are truly the source. Godly, hardworking, decent, servant hearts. And they're the ones who pour their lives into the kids, often getting discouraged, to be honest, because they pour so much in and then the marks are still low until the end of the year. But definitely the key to Cornerstone success is not, I don't think, necessarily in the leadership, but in what happens in the classrooms with these amazingly godly teachers. God bless them. And I just would call upon your listeners to honor teachers. Look, there are exceptions, I know, but there are so many teachers out there who are getting lower salaries. They're not treated with the reverence and respect they deserve. And meanwhile, they are changing the next generation under difficult circumstances. So all respect and honor to the teachers of Cornerstone College.
Ma'am, thank you so much. So
Such
normally
a pleasure.
when I end the podcast, so I normally call preachers and I always ask them to tell us where can they find them in case someone wants to call them to preach. But I'm also ask you, where can people find you if they, because I also tried finding you and I couldn't find you on social media, but where can people find you or Cornerstone College or
Yeah, okay. Well, listen, just to answer you, you won't find me on social media. That's a very definite decision that I've made because of my position. I just feel that I need to keep my private life very private. I think there's wisdom in that, not to overshare on social media. But it's very easy to find us. We've got a website. We've got a Facebook page. We are on Instagram. The phone numbers you can find there. People can phone us and make an appointment to see us. What other ways can you find us? You just Google us and you will find us. Just a word of warning though, there are a couple of schools that are still using Cornerstone College as the name, even though they shouldn't be. They're not allowed to because it's trademarked. Make very sure you're finding Cornerstone College in Silverton, Pretoria. And the best way is on our website.
Okay, this came up as you were saying. Ma'am, how do you not want to clarify your name? Like, how do you keep yourself? Because when I Googled you, I'm seeing all these articles and people are writing all these things, and I'm wondering to myself, I wonder how is she not like clear? How do you stay content in, you know what, believe what you want to believe? I'm sticking to this. So that's something that came now.
Yeah. You know, as I said to you earlier, there are lots of detractors because basically people don't like high standards and they don't like consistency and they don't like discipline. Discipline is like a swear word nowadays, but we would never be where we are without self-discipline. And I think it's very sad that so many schools in our country are collapsing because of lack of discipline. So I don't apologize for it, but I also know that many people don't like it. That's their choice. But you know what? The proof of the pudding is in the eating. If you want to know, I don't have to defend myself. You just have to look at the product, and there's one looking at me right now. So, you know, Jesus kept quiet when he was falsely accused, and he changed the world. So I don't want to be too distracted by the people who say nasty things. I think you judge the person by what they say, not necessarily by who you are. And you judge a person by their product. We spoke about the fruit. So let the fruit of my life speak for me. I don't need to defend myself further than that. And as long as God is glorified, then we will keep on keeping on.
That's it, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Such a pleasure. Love to everyone.
Oh, ma'am, one more thank you before I close. Like you I think as a kid, growing up as a kid, I had so many assumptions about you. But you never changed and you never attended to, you still stuck to it. And so for me, this interview is just like, it's so amazing because for me, there's clarity in so much that was happening in Cornerstone at the time. And I really didn't understand. And thank you for not changing because I mean, like
there are some advantages to being stubborn. I think.
Yeah. Man, that is so true. I mean, you know, to some point, I want to say you can't be a Christian and not be stubborn. You have to be stubborn with your faith.
Yeah, you've got to major on the majors.
Yes.
So the things that are immovable stay immovable. The things that are just culture and change and not central, the minors, you change on. Yeah. For example, our hairstyle policy has changed since you were here, because it's not the most important thing, you know. But in terms of standards of respect and being here on time and being here and doing homework and, you know, those sort of things, they're old-fashioned, but I'm not changing them because they're timeless.
Yes. Ma'am, you are so right. Keeping time and respect, and I listen to how people talk to teachers and their elders. I'm just like, how are you talking to your father like that? And
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
even the time situation. Okay, all right. I can go on and on, but thank you
Mhm.
so much, Mrs.
Such
Helen.
a pleasure, Ulungisile, and God bless you. And if there are any Cornerstone students listening to your podcast, and I'm sure there are, could I just extend my love and greetings from both Dr. H and me to them and tell them, even from a distance, we love them so much. They're our legacy, and they are our joy, as indeed you are.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you to all our listeners. Please make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. Peace, weebies.
Every believer needs KFC. Now, I'm not talking about the chicken, but if you want to buy me some, feel free. Okay. This concept is taken from the Hebrew boys. You see, they had the knowledge that God can, they had the faith that God will, and they also had the commitment that even if He does not, Nebuchadnezzar, we still won't bow. Anyone who knows Wisdom Podcast knows that we create content for revolutionaries because our mandate is serving a revelation that energizes a revolution. And if you want to be part of this movement, you can get yourself one of these amazing sweaters. Okay, so what you are seeing right now is you are seeing the back of the sweater, and at the back there's this phrase that's written, why every believer needs KFC, because I preached a sermon on this. It's on podcast, it's on our podcast platforms, it's on YouTube, it's on whatever. So if someone comes to you and asks you, why does someone need KFC, you just simply ask them to scan this QR code and it'll take them straight to the sermon I did on this particular topic. Now, one more thing. Okay. If you want to get yourself one of these, just simply look at the caption here or check out the bio. There should be some form of information on how you can get yourself one of these. Peace. We be.